I'm hanging in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And how are you and the family at the moment? Is everything all okay? I know you said you're in Florida. How are things over there? How's life?
Life is really weird. It's really weird right now. Like you said, I'm in Orlando. Things are starting to open back up. I think like next week, Universal Studios is going to open.
Wow.
And that is a scary thing, just because there's so many people there. And, obviously this hasn't really been contained as well as, other places. So it's really scary. It's really scary.
Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully stay safe, be well, all that good stuff. It's a crazy time, man. It's I keep hearing the term unprecedented, and it is unprecedented, but it's just, it's nuts. But as long as you're good and the family's good, that's the main thing. Right, I guess the first thing we should talk about, as we're recording this on, I'm losing track of days, the Friday, just this past last week, you've had your debut album out, Ever After. That must be very cool. I mean, obviously, we'll get to the WWE release and the wrestling and all that, but like as the WWE times kind of come to an end for now, you've got this music career that's kind of kicked right off now. So how's the response been so far to the album?
It's been really good, and I'm glad that I was able to put this out during the time that I did. A lot of people are down right now with the obvious, huge situation that's going on in the world. The album, I really wanted to focus on vulnerability and just being able to share a side of me that not a lot of people have heard. So I'm glad that people are finding it super relatable. And it's cool to see people talk about which songs are their favorites and why it's their favorites and how it, just compares to what they've gone through in their lives. So it's really cool.
Yeah. How long's the album been like in the works for you then?
For about 6 months. I released the EP back in November. And then I remember literally the next day after, I went right back into the studio and I started working on an album. I didn't really know what the theme was going to be. I just started, writing and recording. And then like over time, I started to realize that there was, a reoccurring theme to everything that I was writing. So it turned out.
Yeah. Well, am I right in thinking you're from a musical family as well?
Yes, I am. My parents were a gospel duo. They've gotten nominated for Stellar Awards in the past, and they've traveled all around the world. So that was really cool to be able to grow up and watch my parents sing at like concerts and cruise ships and stuff like that. So it was really cool.
Yeah, cool. So what was like the first love for you then? Was it always music, growing up in a musical family, or was pro wrestling the first love? I mean, how was that as a kid?
I think just sports in general was like, my first love. My sisters, I have 4 sisters, and they are all involved in different things. I think it was me and, one of my oldest sisters were the only 2 that was involved in sports. And I think I was pushed to be that athlete of the family the most. As far as the music, I was just a kid getting, dragged along because that's what my parents did. And I was just, kind of there and going along for the ride. But, sports was always a passion of mine and a love of mine. And then, once I figured out that there was an actual way or a path to become a professional wrestler, then that's when I really started to, develop a love of the idea of being a professional wrestler.
Yeah. Who were the guys and maybe girls that you were watching at that point then in wrestling where you were like, I want to be like that? Or you see somebody, basically the ones who were just entertaining you. Who were the ones that were grabbing your attention at that point?
The main one, I mean, I could go through an entire list, but I remember the main person that I really wanted to be like, what made me want to become a professional wrestler and then got me the most excited was Jeff Hardy. He was like a superhero to me. Like, I definitely wanted to go on that same path as him.
Yeah. I can see that now as well. I guess because he clearly, Jeff is one of those guys famous for having that it factor, I guess you could call it, which is something that could be said about yourself and obviously the style. Did you ever get a chance to work with Jeff at all over the years?
Didn't, and that really eats at my soul. I really wanted to, Jeff. Luckily, I was able to. I was on a few shows with him during his time on the Indies. There was a short period of time with him and Matt. They were on the independent scene, a couple of years ago before they went back to the WWE. And I was on a few shows with him. I also was, in the locker room with him, kind of every week when I was on 205 Live, because we would tape the same day as SmackDown. So, it was cool to just be able to share a locker room with him. But I do wish that I was able to, work with him in the ring.
Well, who knows what you're still 25, man. There's a lot of gas left in that tank for you. I mean, obviously Jeff's had his fair share of bumps over the years, but I guess never say never is the famous saying in the wrestling business. But how do you feel now about wrestling? I mean, do you still have? I think it was a tweet you put out, or it might have been a video where you'd said that maybe we've seen the last of Leo Rush in a wrestling ring. Do you still have that love for it, or is it just maybe a little bit of burnout? Or I mean, how are you feeling right now about wrestling?
I think a big part of it is me being just burnt out. Obviously, like, I still have a love for professional wrestling. It's still there somewhere. I've been trying to find it. Ever the release, or even before the release. Before the release, I was saying to myself, man, I just feel like I'm not going to be wrestling for that much longer. And I do think a big part of that was just being burnt out, going through some, traumatizing experiences in the WWE, and just me overall just wanting to be away from it. And I think now is just the perfect time to do that, with the world and the shape that it's in, and not knowing when wrestling shows are going to start back up, as far as like independent shows and stuff like that. And it's just I feel like this is the perfect time to just take a breath, focus on some things that I've always wanted to focus on, like my music, spending some time with my family, which I'm right now. So just putting my focus into something that, deserves the attention that it didn't get, within those 3 years of being in the WWE.
Yeah, and I suppose if you did choose to carry on wrestling when things get back to some sort of normalcy, in one way, there's never really been a better time to be a free agent, because there's just so many. Well, there's AEW now, there is WWE, NXT, but then you've got like MLW on an international stage. We get over here to watch every week. There's the NWA, there's Ring of Honor, there's Impact. Japan's a very real option for a lot of people now. So in one way, if you were to carry on wrestling, there's there's lots of possible avenues for you to go down.
Yeah, there's so many different, places out there right now. And it's really cool to see. Also, it's kind of sad to think about if some of these promotions are even going to still be a thing once things get back to normal. Obviously, a lot of people are taking a huge financial hit right now. I know of a few places that are most likely going to fold because of this. And it's kind of sad. It's really unfortunate that that's the way that it's going to be. But like you said, there's so many places out there to work, and I'm just gonna stay home, spend this time with my family, wait until my phone rings, and just I'm definitely going to be open to some possibilities. But as far as right now, like I said, I'm just taking that much needed rest period.
Yeah, because it is a rarity for professional wrestler to actually have some downtime. Albeit it's kind of forced upon the world now that the majority of people in the world have to have some downtime, but it's kind of a rarity. You get to have an extended period at home with the family. You get to, obviously in your case, you get to work on your music. So it's not all doom and gloom, I guess. But for you, so far, you like I said, you're 25 years old, been wrestling for 6 years now. I think it was in 2014 debut. And it's like, where do you think you've had the most fun so far? A lot of people know you from CZW. Then there's obviously WWE. There's the NXT stuff. There's time in Ring of Honor. Where do you, if you look back and think, yeah, that was the most fun I've had?
I think I keep saying this. My run with Bobby, was the most fun that I think that I've had. But I think I would just say that for the WWE, my time in the WWE, that was the most fun that I've had. My time on the Indies, I feel like was my most fun was when I left Ring of Honor, and then I think I had a good 6 months where I was traveling all over the world. I was coming off of Ring of Honor television, and my name was kind of hot at the time, and I was able to, go travel to some really cool places. I was on tour in England and Germany and Mexico, Canada, and I was just all over the place, and it was really fun. And that was during a time period where I just got booked for, some pretty cool, independent promotions on the West Coast, like PWG, and it was just fun. Yeah, that time period was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the time with Lashley there in WWE, because there were some good moments in WWE. There was, I remember the cruiserweight title win. That felt like a huge deal at the time at Full Sail, and with your wife and I think the kids there as well. That was a big deal. It just felt like there was like a kind of false starts in a way where you'd be getting hot and then you'd be gone off TV for a bit, like the Bobby stuff that when WrestleMania had come and gone, then you were gone out of that deal, out of that tandem. There was no more Leo Rush with Bobby Lashley. That's got to be a bit frustrating for you at times.
Yeah, it was very frustrating, very disappointing, just because I didn't know why we got split up in the first place. I know that I had an issue with how I was being paid. And, that was his own beast. But, I think ever since that conversation, that I had about, finances, I was just kind of sent home, and I never got a phone call. I never heard from anybody for the next, 6 months. And, yeah, that was very frustrating, just because I thought that, me and Bobby had a really good thing going on. It was picking up a lot of steam. It was the dynamic was really cool. And the storyline that we were in was really hot. So it was really frustrating and weird how, the office just decided to drop it. And yeah, really frustrating.
Yeah, and obviously, clearly, you were bringing value to that act, because otherwise they wouldn't have put you with Bobby in the first place if they didn't see some value in what you could do together. And it did work. It added a new dimension to Bobby. I mean, before that, we'd seen in Impact when he had MVP working with him doing the talking. That worked really well. And it was a little bit like that, but on a different level. And then you get to your button heads with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, and it seems like everything's going really well, and it's destined for that big match that everyone's talked about. I think people even talk about it like this week. I've seen it doing the rounds again. Yeah. Lashley and Lesnar. It's like the fight that seems destined to never happen. But how was it just to be against like Lesnar, and more importantly for you, with Paul Heyman to kind of play off and bounce off?
It was really cool, just because Paul Heyman was a big part of the initial start of me and Bobby. He was the one who told me that me and Bobby were going to be, a parent. And he helped out so much with that first promo of me and Bobby, like in the gym. And I'm like cheering him on and saying like low weights, high rep, stuff like that. So it was cool. It was really cool for Paul to be a part of that. It was also, it was really exciting, man. People thought that it was going to happen. People thought that, it was destined to be a thing. Me and Paul and Brock and Bobby, you said, it was nonstop of people just talking about it. Even to this day, every time Bobby does something, anything, I always get in the post. So yeah, I was definitely looking forward to it. It's a shame that it didn't happen.
Yeah. Before the release, because they obviously at the moment we're still seeing it, the tournament to crown the interim cruiserweight champion. Was there any talk of you being involved in that? Because I think they'd announced that maybe the week before the releases actually came. Was there talk of you maybe competing in that?
No, there was no talk of me being in it. Once the announcement was made that there was going to be a cruiserweight championship, tournament, I think I was just so in the habit of finding out things last minute. And I always knew to just, text the writer and say, hey, am I going to be a part of this? And, sometimes they would say, oh, yeah, I was just about to text you. So I think it was very common to find out something over the internet first and then have a writer text. So once I saw that, I texted a writer and said, hey, just saw the tournament. Just wanted to know if I was going to be a part of it. I heard filming was supposed to start pretty soon. And yeah, they told me I wasn't going to be in it. And I'm not going to lie, I was really shocked. I was pretty shocked just because, I had a pretty good run with the title for a little while. So I just thought that I was going to be a part of it. And then once I found out that I wasn't, I just started doing, promos on social media, promoting the tournament, promoting the guys that was in it. Because I just saw that nobody else was doing it. So I started doing some promos online. And it was a shock when everybody saw that I was released because they thought that, I was supposed to be, a big part of the cruiserweight division. And I wasn't. So.
Yeah, because it did, as I said before, it felt like a genuinely big deal when you won that title. And then the rivalry you had with Garza was where you put on kind of just stealing the show every single week for a spell. So it is, as a fan, it's disappointing not to see you in that because it seems to write itself. Of you've got the former champ who did well with the title, put him in the tournament, or keep him around to have him go after whoever wins the tournament. It's, I don't know.
You're not wrong, man. I think a lot of things writes itself. WWE, and somehow, some way, they find a way to unwrite it and go a different path that makes no sense. So,
would you, if say things change a couple of years down the line and they came to you with an offer to go back, would that be something you'd have to consider, or is this maybe left a bad taste in your mouth? Really, the experience you've had there.
I think. I mean, it's a hard question right now, obviously, because I feel the way that I feel about the whole thing, being disappointed and frustrated and confused and stuff like that. I never want to rule out anything. I think that anything is possible. I think that anything can be done. But it is going to take a lot. Like I said, there's so much with the WWE that I just don't agree with morally, and it sucks. But if the right opportunity presented itself, and financially it has to be beneficial for myself and my family, then I would definitely consider it. But I'm just not gonna come running as soon as they blow the whistle. So
especially because, as we said, there are genuine alternatives out there now as well. It's not, for the longest period of time, it was always that was the pinnacle, was WWE. But now there's All Elite, and then there's the other promotions that are kind of gaining speed every week, like an NWA, like an MLW. What? Just sort me through the experience of that release, of how it all came about, because we've heard there's stories out of people getting text messages, there's stories of people having to ring in to get the news. What was your particular situation like?
I saw a lot of people talking about it on social media, Twitter specifically, of WWE was going to hold like a mass releases today or that day, and I didn't believe it at first, but then more news sites started picking it up, and I'm like, oh man, this seems like a real thing. So I remember putting out a tweet and just saying, whatever happens today, just know that, you know, as a wrestling community, you're not alone, and that we're gonna be okay. Um, and then I just got a weird feeling like in my chest, and so I called Mark Carano, who was the head of talent relations. I asked him, I said, hey man, I'm seeing a lot of things on social media about, you know, mass releases happened today, and I just wanted to know before I find out over the internet, am I going to be one of those people? And he told me that I was, and I didn't fight it. I didn't ask why or anything. I just kind of like took a moment and I just said okay, and I hung up. And then like an hour or two later, I was a part of that first batch of people who got released, and you know, I felt so many different emotions during that time. You know, I was a little happy. I felt relieved at the same time. I was confused. I was frustrated. I was, you know, just because I put so much of my time and effort and energy and, you know, everything. I put everything into the WWE for the past 3 years, and, you know, just to be kind of like dropped on a dime, just like that, you know, without any real explanation other than, you know, we need to cut some people from the company because we're pretty much losing a lot of money, which sucks. So.
Yeah, it was like obviously I don't think the wrestling business has seen anything like it. Just in terms of the sheer number of people that were affected by it all, it was it was insane to see the stories come out. And it wasn't just that one day. It was kind of dripped over a couple of days, and then maybe a week later somebody else would go. It was man, it's a strange time. But I guess, like you said, there could be some positives in the sense of almost that sense of relief from being able to explore what else is out there, whether that's wrestling, whether that's music, whether that's anything else. Yeah. So I guess it's not all bad in that day. And I've seen there's lots of people. The good thing is social media can be a very horrible place, but it can also be a great place. So how's it been like to have that instant reaction from fans, just kind of wishing you well, excited to see what's next? How's that been on the positive side of things for you?
It was really cool. You know, especially during that day where I felt so down and kind of just depressed from the overall situation, just from the world, this pandemic and all the horrible news going on top of, you know, the WWE. I just wanted to hear some good news. I just wanted to hear or see people that appreciated, you know, my time with the company. You know, I felt like I said, like I put so much time and energy and passion and love, like, you know, to the WWE. And I just wanted to know if my fans could see that. So I started a little hashtag love for Leo. And, you know, people started using it in different ways, whether that was, you know, posting photos that they took of us, like while they were in the crowd and I'm coming back up the ramp after a match, or, you know, all of the fans waiting at hotels and airports and outside of the arena in the cold, freezing rain. And I would stop and take pictures with them and stuff like that. It was really cool to just see the amount of love just being poured in. It was rough, man. I still, you know, to this day think that, you know, it's just one big never-ending nightmare, and eventually I'm just going to wake up from it and I'll still be a part of the company. But I don't think that's the case. That's not the case at all. So it's rough.
One thing I have to ask, like, what's going on with you, Mark Henry? It's like there's so many different things going out, and I saw an interview with Bobby where he's kind of pleading with you guys to make amends, and Mark's asking for you to call into Busted Open. What's happened there?
I just don't understand. I don't understand how this even started initially. You know, it was something that happened over a year ago. And I woke up one morning, which was last week or a few days ago, however long this was. I woke up to a video that I kept getting tagged in And I saw that Mark Henry was still talking about this situation that happened a year ago. So I'm just like, man, what is your issue? What is the problem? So I just went on social media and I called him out for it. I'm like, dude, like why are you still attacking me from this situation that happened over a year ago? And, a lot of people think that I just went on Twitter and I just started like bad mouthing him, but that wasn't the case. I got tagged in a video of him just talking crap and I got tired of it, like why? There's so much going on in the world right now. People are frustrated and angry and people are losing their jobs and you're still, trying to bring somebody down. Like how much more down could I possibly get, so I just got fed up and I started, talking some trash back to him. And, I don't know what his issue is. We met back at not even last year's WrestleMania. I think it was the WrestleMania before that in Dallas, I believe. And I remember seeing him in the hotel lobby, and I walked up to him and I introduced myself to him. I told him who I was. I said that I was a huge fan of his, and it was an honor to meet him. And later on during that WrestleMania week, he said that he saw my WrestleMania Access match and that it was really good. And, I thanked him for it. I appreciated him, watching the match and taking that time out. And that was the last time that I spoke with him during that WrestleMania weekend. And then about a couple of months later, that incident where I guess he was I think it was Raw, and he kind of just came up to me and asked me a vague question of, hey, I'm hearing some stuff in the locker room. Is everything good? And I said, yeah. I just said, yeah. It was just weird. Like, I don't know what else he was expecting. Like, if he's hearing something in the locker room, I don't know about it because people are coming to me and telling me that there's an issue. Like, people like to gossip, behind closed doors. So whatever he's hearing, I haven't heard it. So I have no idea what he's talking about. And then, a couple months later, he's like bad mouthing me on his podcast saying that I'm like lying to him and all of this nonsense, which is crazy, But yeah, the whole situation is weird. The whole thing is weird. I don't know why he had this issue with me and he's threatening to sue me, which is so foolish. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Mark is going to be Mark. Like, whatever. I don't care.
Right. And well, on a more positive note, there is the album out at the moment, Ever After. Where can people check that out if they've not listened to it already?
I have the album out on all streaming platforms right now. They can find it a lot easier if they went to my website, which is Music by Leo, and you'll see the album on different streaming platforms like Tidal, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes. It's everywhere. So yeah, if they go to musicbyleo.com, they can find the album.
Yeah. And while the world of professional wrestling is on hold, maybe an end for Leo Rush, who knows? But is the plan to carry on with music at least for now, and just to see how things go over the next few months, year, and just see where things take you?
I'm just I've been trying to plan and figure out something over the next few months, but it's very hard to do that with not knowing where we're going to be next few months, let alone next week. Something crazy could happen next week and it sets things back even more. So just trying to keep a positive mind, trying to continue to work on my music. That's pretty much it. I'm like I said, I'm going to be open to, things that comes in the future. And but for now, like I said, I'm working on my music and I'm just enjoying the time and the rest and spending it with my family.
Yeah, it is like these nuts times. Things are changing literally every day, every week, every hour. It's such a strange time. But Leo, this has been brilliant. Where can people follow you on the social medias? Before we let you go.
Definitely. They can follow me on Twitter at It's Leo Rush. They can follow me on Instagram at Rush Leo Rush. I'm also on TikTok right now at It's Leo. And like I said before, I have that website, musicbyleo.com, where they can find, all of my music and merchandise that I have right now, such as T-shirts, 8x10s. My wife makes some really cool handmade, hand-rolled incense. I'm a huge incense and candles guy. So